Hi there, this is Erica Merrill, and I'm the founder of Perfect Legal Video. And I am very excited to have, for the first time on our show today, attorney Tim Stickradt. He is a bankruptcy attorney in the Detroit, Michigan area, and he is here to give us some very important information having to do with the stimulus packages that have come out during this pandemic, COVID-19. And welcome to the show today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Erica.
Perfect. So let's just jump right in with the question that is on everyone's mind, and that is they have now been promised stimulus checks, and there's different varying degrees of how much people are going to get for different situations. But everyone is supposed to get, almost everyone is supposed to get one. Can you give us the information that you have on the stimulus checks?
Sure. My understanding is that everyone with the Social Security number is eligible for a stimulus check. You also must have filed taxes in 2018 or 2019. The amount of income you earned will determine how much you're eligible for. And that's going to be based on your most recently filed tax return. So for example, if you filed your 2018 return, but not your 2019, then the government will look at your 2018 income to determine if you're eligible and for how much.
So that's really great to know. Do you have to do anything to get the stimulus check?
No, there's nothing that you have to do affirmatively other than have filed a tax return for those years or one of those years.
Do you know what the average is that people might receive? I know it's a little different if you have a very high income, but on average, most people will get around, what would you say?
Most adults are going to get about $1,200. If your income was $75,000 or less as a single filer, you're entitled to the full $1,200. If your income was $99,000 or less, you're entitled to something. And anything over that as a single filer, I don't believe you're entitled to anything. And that number goes up for someone who files head of household, where the threshold is $136,500 to, I believe, $150,000. And then for a married couple, the threshold is $150,000 to $198,000.
So about when are people going to expect to get these checks?
Well, according to the Treasury Secretary, as of 2 days ago, anytime within the next 2 weeks. And they will mail the check to the most recent address they have on record or deposit it in the most recent bank account they have on record.
Wow, that's really interesting. I know you're a bankruptcy attorney, so I'm going to ask you this question. Do you have any advice on what someone should or shouldn't do with this check? I mean, it's not a big check, but what do you think?
Well, I mean, the answer to that question will be obviously it depends. It depends on your situation. Right now, people are worried about making their mortgage payment or their car payment or their credit card payments or just feeding their families. And so I would say it really depends on whether you have a situation where your mortgage company or your car lender will defer payments for you for a period of time. If they'll do that, then you might want to use the money for different sources, other sources than those. If not, then obviously you're going to want to stay in your house and protect your house and your vehicle. So it just depends on your circumstances. Again, it's not. I think the most a married couple will get is $2,400 plus an additional $500 for every child under the age of 17. And so, it depends on your budget. And what types of things you still have to make payments on during this crisis.
So really, your advice is to sit down and prioritize. I mean, obviously, get as many things deferred as possible if you need to, if you aren't working, but then, really prioritize which bills you are not able to defer right now, and make sure that you have a roof over your head and food on the table. And, I know we're going to be going over some of these questions, but, the utilities are not supposed to be shut off during this time, whether you've paid your bill or not. So that's really great. I guess the next question I have is, people are wondering about if they are going to be able to file for unemployment. I mean, have you heard anything about the unemployment?
My understanding is that, yeah, anyone who is eligible for unemployment otherwise can still file for unemployment, and then the amounts that they'd be eligible for are greater than what they usually are. I don't have a lot more on that, and I do want to circle back to our last point for a second. If you do indeed go and try and have a mortgage payment, for example, deferred, or a car payment, make sure that you understand what the terms of repayment are, because my understanding is a lot of banks are doing that, but they're not forgiving, if they, let's say, for example, they defer 3 months, that money is still owed. And a lot of them aren't just tacking it onto the end of the payment schedule. They're requiring either payment in full or you to somehow refinance that amount. So just be careful when you ask for a deferment, that you understand the terms of that and what the expectations are at the end for repayment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've just kind of gone over a whole bunch of the questions at once, but I mean, it's so important, I think, mostly to make that phone call and find out the terms, like you said, because it seems like all the companies are doing something different, and I guess they should. There's no universal rule yet for it, so you're going to be making a lot of phone calls and getting things in writing. I know that's something that you've said in the past when we were talking about this. And, if you're planning on going through a bankruptcy right now, what's the best advice you have if you're going through a bankruptcy and all of a sudden you've lost your income?
Well, I mean, as always, contact a bankruptcy attorney. You can contact me anytime, and we'll talk about the options. Again, they vary from case to case. What I can tell you right now is that the bankruptcy courts are still open, in the sense that new cases can be filed. So if there is a pressing issue and either you're concerned or you're not getting a clear answer from your bank as to what steps they're taking, and you feel you need protection, a bankruptcy can be filed now. In the industry, we feel that over the next few months, bankruptcy filings are going to increase. So it might be good to be proactive about that now, even if you think you may need to file down the road, but you aren't sure if you're going to or should. It might be a good idea just to make inroads with that now and start to kind of plan ahead and start looking at your options now, before everybody else starts to do that, because the courts, they could get overwhelmed, and it could cause some delay. So we don't want that to happen. So it's always good, as with everything else, to kind of get your ducks in a row as soon as possible.
I think that's really great advice. And at this time, I'd love to just, we have more questions that have to do with the stimulus package, but like you said, you guys are open right now, and you are meeting people virtually, I'm assuming, at times, and I know that you can file electronically. Can you give us a few more details about how you and your team are working? I know that you're all in the office and you're working hard. Just give people an idea of how they can work with you during this pandemic.
Sure. Well, we're not all in the office. In fact, most of our team is working from home right now. And through technology like this, we're able to do so. And it seems, from the other end of things, that it's flawless. As I said, the courts are open, and technically we are too. The silver lining to this now is that you can actually file bankruptcy without leaving your home. We can do a consult over the phone or through a Zoom meeting like this. We can do the signatures through email, and we can file the case electronically. And then the kind of hidden beauty is that we're normally, if you file bankruptcy, you'd have to go to court roughly 30 days after we file. All the court hearings are being held telephonically now. So we are in our office Our client will be at their home on the phone, and then the trustee who's conducting the hearing or the meeting is going to be in their office or at their home. So you really don't have to go anywhere. And I believe that is set to continue through the end of April, and they'll reevaluate that, May 1st or before that.
Well, that's fantastic news, that you're able to run virtually like this so smoothly. And I know that you have been, and I'm sure that people have a lot of questions and that the phones are probably ringing off the hook right now, especially with a loss of income. One of the questions I had for you was for people that have already settled a Chapter 13. Now, if someone has settled a Chapter 13, then my understanding is that there is a payment plan that has been put forth, and they might be having trouble making that payment plan right now. What is your advice to someone in that situation?
Right. So if you're in a Chapter 13 reorganization right now, and you are still getting paid, you're still working and making your full salary or income, nothing will change with regard to your case. Your payments are still expected to be made on time at the same rate that they were before this crisis started. If you've lost your job or lost hours or taken a pay cut due to this, the first thing you need to do is call your attorney, because plan modifications can be filed, motions to suspend plan payments or put them off can be filed as well, and the courts are being really helpful with that. So there's almost always a way to help you out, but you have to stay in touch with your lawyer. So to all my clients, please call again. If you don't understand the first time, call again. It's important that you get the information, that you understand it, and that we come up with a plan and stick to it.
I think that's really great advice, because if you don't have the right information and you're making the wrong moves, then that is going to really hurt you in the future. And we're not talking about just the immediate future. It could hurt you for years to come. So definitely give the attorneys and the staff at HS&A a call if you have a question when it comes to that. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about somebody that's already looking at foreclosures, that they've already been given notice and they can't pay their bills right now. It's gotten a lot worse now that they're out of work. What is your advice in that situation?
Well, I mean, if you're facing foreclosure, I don't like to rely on the good nature of the banks, and I'm hearing mixed messages on that right now. So we can still file a Chapter 13 to stop a foreclosure sale. And I think that's the way I am most comfortable with this, because I know definitively that if we do that, there's no chance that the sale is going to go forward. Now, I'm hearing that the government is suspending foreclosures indefinitely, but again, that's going to be short term. It's not going to be something that we can rely on very long. And again, it might be wise to get something started now. If bankruptcy is inevitable and you're going to have to do it in the next 3 months, it might make sense to start the process now, to get things in place, so that when the courts are overloaded, your case is already moving and things are moving smoothly.
No, that seems to be a really big concern with attorneys, is that now that everything's been frozen, there's more cases as a result of this pandemic. And also there were already a bunch of cases that are just at a standstill because of the pandemic, and people just aren't working the same way right now. And the courts are not, seeing as many cases. And depends. It sounds like you're still having phone consults and you're still able to do things with the court over the phone, which is great, but there's still some backup of work that's being logged right now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, anytime there's a change like this that has to be implemented so quickly, you're going to have backlog. And maybe some good will come out of this. Maybe once this is over with, we'll have found new ways to streamline things and make them more efficient. I don't know. But until that happens, you always want to be cautious and kind of get ahead of the curve. So again, my advice is, no matter what, it doesn't hurt to make a phone call. Call your lawyer, call us. If you haven't filed a case, we're more than happy to talk to you. We'll do a phone consult. Our typical phone consults range from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what information and how much information you need. If you want to move forward, we can move forward instantly.
Hmm.
There's no delay at all at this point.
I think that's fantastic. The last couple of things that I had on the list were people concerned about utilities. I know that some of the people that come to you are quite far behind on utility payments and maybe getting a lot of phone calls about that. What have you heard about utilities during this pandemic?
Yeah, my understanding right now is that the utility companies aren't going to shut off your service, okay? But if you do have an arrearage, if you owe your electric company, for 4 or 5 months, and you have other debts that you're dealing with, filing bankruptcy will actually discharge those obligations and get you on a clean slate with your utility company. So again, if that's the only problem you have, I don't think it's worthwhile to file a bankruptcy just for utilities. But if you've got that and other issues, again, it might make sense just to clear everything out and move forward with a clean slate.
Absolutely. And the last one that I had for you was just what about student loan debt right now?
Similar message with the student loan debt. Again, bankruptcy is not going to discharge those debts in most parts of the country. The law just isn't in our favor when it comes to that. But contact your lender. All right, student loan companies, if there's one good thing to say about them, is they are usually easy to work with. They'll grant forbearances in normal times. So with this COVID thing going on, I expect that the treatment will be at least that good. So reach out to your lenders, and that's true no matter whether we're talking student loans, utilities, mortgage. Communication is always important. You want to maintain that with them so they know where you are. They can give you the various options as to what's out there. And then if those options don't suit you, or if they just aren't going to work for you, call me, call a bankruptcy lawyer. Let's talk about doing something and forcing them versus you waiting for them to take action. Because again, even though everything's on hold right now, this is not going to last forever. And these companies, the minute they can, they're going to go back to their collection methods. And you got to be ready for that.
Absolutely. And they're lucky to have you guys out there helping and standing in their corner, because you are in court. Well, not right now, but you are handling things with the court every single day. And you were in court every single day fighting for people in some very tough situations. And so I think that's important. The other thing that people should know is that whatever you've heard about bankruptcy, whatever your ideas are about it, and you might have a stigma attached to it, but really bankruptcy is a way to get a fresh start and start over. And not everybody is in debt for reasons that they cause. Sometimes it's some terrible medical bills that came up from an unforeseen illness, or maybe they had to take care of another family member, or maybe there was a car accident. I mean, there is so many things that happen in life. It's going to happen. And the best thing to do when it happens is to not be embarrassed and to pick up the phone and call HS&A, because they are going to look at your situation, specifically and uniquely your situation, and then give you some options. There's nothing more powerful than knowledge. And so I know I don't want to steal your thunder, but this is, we really believe in what you guys do over there, and I cannot, recommend you more highly.
Well, yeah, you've answered a lot of your questions there and said a lot that I would. And your message is absolutely accurate. I mean, now above all times is not the time to be proud. All right. If you need protection, seek protection. That's all this is. That's what we offer: protection and help. And frankly, if you can't afford to pay your bills and your creditor's not working for you, they don't leave you any choice. And there is a stigma attached to this, but there doesn't have to be, and there shouldn't be. You're protecting yourself. You're protecting your family. You're doing the smart thing. You're probably saving a lot of money by filing bankruptcy, and most people who file bankruptcy can have a credit score back into the 700s within 12 to 24 months. Okay, so there really aren't that many reasons not to file if you have debt issues like this, because you gotta ask yourself a question: am I going to be able to bail myself out of this or not? And maybe even in normal times, the answer is no. But especially now when either you're not working or you're not sure about your job security or how long you're going to get paid. So it's always good to get information. Like you said, knowledge is power. Seek the knowledge. We have it. We're happy. We're more than happy to be able to help people out right now. And that's what we do. We've been doing this for over 20 years now. So please call.
And I will say, they are the nicest people you will ever meet. And so when you sit down with them, it is not like anyone's looking down on you in your situation. It's all about help and caring and listening and finding the best solution for you. And it may not be bankruptcy. They're not going to push that if that's not right for you. But they will give you your options, and sometimes it is the best solution.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, every week I'll meet with 2 or 3 people who bankruptcy doesn't make sense. Either it's not the right thing to do right now, or it wouldn't solve their problems to the point where it justifies filing. So the first consultation is always free. So you've got nothing to lose. Reach out, get some information, protect yourself. And if bankruptcy is not the solution, there's no way I'm going to push it on you. The one thing I don't want, the one thing I never want to have are clients who are upset with me or not happy with their service. Okay, so I'm definitely not going to put you in a position where you're going to feel like we didn't do you right. All right, if it means filing bankruptcy, I'm going to tell you, you need to do this. I'm going to tell you in no uncertain terms. My staff will too. But if it's not the right thing, no, we're not going to steer you this way. And we will try to find some other solution for you. But again, you gotta find out. You can't sit on your couch and wonder and worry, because help's just a phone call away.
Yeah, they don't talk about it, but worry really does. It really does slowly kill the body. So, for your own health, for the health of your family, give them a call. Tim, thank you so much for the information today. It was very helpful. I'm sure that it is going to ease a lot of people's minds, answer a lot of questions that they've been wondering about and didn't have the information. So I really appreciate your coming on, and we are looking forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Absolutely, Erica. I'm glad I could help. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.